All right. You are now rocking with the best, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in for another exciting, exhilarating episode of the And New Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, your host, Katie Drummond. I am here with two of the other four horsemen. We are, a little bit handicapped, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and plow right through this. It is an exciting show. We have, of course, the one, the only Mr. Patrick No C Walker. Say what's up to the people, Pat.
Well, first of all, if Zelina Vega can win with one arm, then we can still make some things cook, right? Welcome back to the greatest wrestling coverage that you could receive on God's green earth, and that's facts. I am Patrick No C Walker, aka the kayfabe of ANW, and we ready to jump this off because Raw was something serious.
Yes, sir, and of course we are joined by the one, the only Mr. Josh Rodriguez. Say what's up to the people, Josh.
Hello, everybody. This is Josh, the Josh Rodriguez of Film School University, and I have to give a quick shout out. Happy birthday to No C. Happy birthday, No C.
Happy
birthday, homeboy.
He is officially eligible for AARP. Everybody clap it up.
That's hilarious considering I'm younger than you. So, I mean, you can feel how you feel.
In your mind.
No, quite literally on government documents.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about first of all, shout out to Will Still. Will, next week we got you, brother. We'll get it all back together. Will was not able to join us for this one, and we're actually recording directly after Monday Night Raw, so we're going to do things a little bit differently because our schedules, obviously you all know what we do in our other thing here, and we have a very busy week here, so we want to make sure that we get to all of the wrestling action. And really, let's jump it off because I know that we just finished Monday Night Raw, but I really do need to take it back to last week and what we saw on AEW because we saw perhaps what some people are calling, and I might be inclined to agree with them, the best wrestling match of the year. Now, I can say that because I've only been back in wrestling for a couple months, but the MJF and Will Ospreay match that went 59 minutes and 58 seconds, action in the ring, action out of the ring. A little girl was punching MJF, and then he gave her the finger. He got dumped in a trash can. There was move after move, high flying, top rope, apron, like everything that you can think of. The match might have gone a little bit too long, but all in all, I think that you can't really complain about anything that happened other than the fact that they just try to milk it to get to the 60-minute mark. And that, for me, brought up a topic that we had been discussing about the fact that Monday Night Raw seemed to be less about the actual in-ring action and more about the storyline. So I want to go to y'all and ask you to basically, give a little bit of reflection about what you guys saw in the match. Obviously, we had a Monday Night Raw this week that had a longer or had a higher content of actual in-ring action than it did last week. So talk to us about how you guys feel about the whole storyline versus wrestling action and where you land on the whole thing.
Well, first I want to say that let's not be a prisoner of the moment. It was not the best match of the year. The match of the year was actually the main event for WrestleMania 40, with Cody finishing the story and, John Cena coming out to stop Solo Sikoa and, The Rock coming out to help and to stop Cena and then The Undertaker and all of that and the Seth Rollins Shield storyline and how that finished as far as Roman choosing to give him that payback, the chair across the back, for those that know the layers to that story, over taking out Cody and guaranteeing that he retained. So that was the match of the year. But when it comes to what Will Ospreay and MJF put on, it was definitely up there. Let's say top three, most certainly top three. But my gripe with the WWE and Raw specifically, not the black and gold brand, not the blue brand as far as runtime is concerned, is when you look at a show like tonight, because again, we're recording this literally right after Raw just went off. And I, put this out there in the Twitter sphere, and you guys feel free to correct me. I don't believe there was a time where they actually used picture-in-picture once. Like, they never used picture-in-picture for their commercials. They did complete cutaways every single time. In tonight's episode, and that kind of goes to our point, KD, in that they're leaning too much into pleasing the sponsors and the advertisers, and it's really diminishing the product as far as the runtime is concerned, because it's not just and New Wrestling has a problem with the runtime. It's actually a movement that's beginning to gain momentum as the weeks go on, and people are more and more thirsty for Netflix now. You could argue from a marketing standpoint, this could be like dark brilliance on the brain of Triple H to say, hey, we're going to make them look so forward to Netflix and get so tired of USA Network. But honestly, I don't think this is 4D chess. I think it's as simple as USA Network wants to run a certain amount of ads.
Absolutely.
And the WWE just is not doing a great job at integrating those by way of picture-in-picture, which is what they should be doing for basically every commercial that's not happening in the middle of a promo or after or before a promo, I should say.
So, Josh, let me ask you to choose your fighter, because one of the things that Pat mentioned when he was talking about WrestleMania 40 having the best match of the year, all I heard was him talking about storylines. I'm the type of person, I enjoy the storylines, but for me, the in-ring wrestling action is what I was referring to. And again, caveat, I haven't watched as much wrestling as you guys, so I could still be completely off. But Pat mentioned all the completions of the storylines, the interference of Seth Rollins storylines, but in-ring action, that's my thing. So let me ask you, which way do you lean? Would you prefer... Preference isn't really the way to call it, because we obviously have to have both in order to have a quality show, right? You have to have storylines that make you invested into the action, and then you also have to have quality action with the sells and the athletic ability and all of those sorts of things. So I guess the question is, which do you think is more important, the storyline or the wrestling in-ring action?
Well, I'm a movie guy, and you guys know this. Storylines are always first and foremost with me, especially when, Patrick talks about, I think it's unequivocally the best match of the year, which is WrestleMania XL, Cody versus Roman, everything leading up to it, all of the storylines, the intense storylines that they're building up to get to that main event. That is what makes that match special. It's not the 3 crossroads in a row that finishes off Roman. Granted, that was amazing, and the way that they ended that match with those 3 crossroads, it was impactful because of the storytelling they've done in the past, right, and how many crossroads it's taken to take Roman out. So I think that's vitally important, is your storyline over the in-ring wrestling. A 60-minute match, although that sounds great on paper, it's unprecedented. I think you're also falling in line with the product. What's the product that we're trying to sell here? And to kind of piggyback off of what Patrick was just saying, no picture-in-picture in Raw this week. You also interrupt a brawl between Damian Priest and Gunther in the first 5 minutes of the show, and it's like, we were just getting going here. You're building the story, and then you're cutting away no picture-in-picture. You're cutting away completely to your first 4-minute ad of the night in this 3-hour block of television. So I'm always going to lean storyline, but I understand the balance that you need to have. And there are a lot of wrestlers in the WWE currently that are doing great in-ring action and not necessarily having great storylines. I mean, Zelina Vega is putting on excellent matches. I know that's Patrick's girl. Doesn't have a whole lot going on storyline-wise, and that's okay, because she's absolutely killing it in the ring.
It's actually not okay, but go ahead.
But she's getting over regardless of her storyline. And I think it's like you said, it's a balance of the two.
It's utterly ridiculous, and this goes to Josh's point. I think let's just call the spade the spade. It's utterly ridiculous that you open up your flagship show with Damian Priest and Gunther going at it in fantastic fashion. Damian, he was like, you know what? They're not going to be able to review my mic skills this week. I'm just throwing hands.
Right, okay? Exactly. He didn't even say
it. That was it.
He was like, no. He's been listening to AMW. He's like, no, absolutely. You're not going. He's like, you're not going to review my mic skills today. So no promo, no verbal promo from Damian. He came out there, gave the whole babyface energy of, I'm tired of you down talking, the audience talking to me. I'm just going to punch you right in the mouth. They're going at it. And then you cut away from that for a commercial. Now, you almost saved yourself from that mistake, because they start going at it again backstage. Okay, we want that action. We're going. And then they cut away from that action a little bit early, maybe like a minute or 2 early, to go to another commercial break. So this just goes to what Josh is saying in the aspect of, this is a flaming hot promo that you got going on at one of your biggest matches coming up for your summer Super Bowl, and you're trying to find ways to you're more beholden to the advertisers than you are to the audience and to the talent, and it cannot be that way.
It's almost like they didn't write him into the show. They just cut away from the middle of the show.
It was weird. It felt weird. It felt weird when the cutaways happened. We're like, whose idea was this?
Right. So, not only was it that they were cutting away from the action, the timing of when they cut away didn't seem smooth, right? Like there's much better ways to plan the cutaways. And I don't know, I do know I did a temp job back when I was, in my early 20s, and I worked for a place that sold
back in the 1800s, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fuck you. But I do know that there is a big premium on placements, and they basically TV networks charge different rates for certain spots that they're advertising on, right? So like an early in the show or fourth quarter in an NFL game, like those sorts of things are basically bigger dollars. So clearly they went to, I don't even know whatever package of ads they had, and they were like, look, we will put you in an advertising window in the first 4 minutes when everybody is tuned in and everybody is guaranteed to watch. And that is absolutely money driven and has nothing to do with the product. And then on top of that, they didn't even take the time to script the break correct in the action, right? So everything felt awkward with that. And it really was a dark spot on a brilliant show. Like everything about the show tonight, as far as the storyline and the in-ring action, was phenomenal, right? I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact that we just saw Rhea Ripley lick Dom Mysterio's cheek. Like, how insane is that storyline right now? And speaking of cheeks. Liv,
my Jersey girl. Hey, mama. Hey, mama. She brought the cakes out of the bakery tonight.
Absolutely. And it was just a phenomenal show. I'm really impressed with where they're going with these storylines, but the execution of Raw, again, they keep fumbling what is the best show in wrestling. And I've caught on. Go ahead.
That cutaway from Uncle Howdy in the middle of the ring after that one was the worst cut of the night, next to the Damian Priest fight at the very beginning. It's just that one, was
especially considering how unmotivated, emotionally invested so many of us are in the Wyatt Six and Uncle Howdy / Bo Dallas. And not only did we finally get, because last week we got Bo Dallas in the ring, but he was being brutalized. Now, obviously, it was a setup by Bo Dallas. That's exactly what he wanted to happen. But this tonight was the first time we saw Bo Dallas putting hands on someone, no less with Uncle Howdy's mask on. And then he reinserts the sister Abigail back into the WWE for the first time since his late brother Bray executed that move. And right as he's celebrating in the middle of the ring, drops down to his knees, puts his hands up, does the Uncle Howdy / that's actually the Bray Wyatt celebration. Right. And we get interrupted because they want to tell us about Pizza Hut.
Hard cutaway.
It's rough. It's rough. That cannot be that way.
I just realized why. Because Raw isn't going to be on USA for the next 2 weeks. It's going to Sci-Fi. So USA Network had to get
their money. They didn't mention that?
I know. They mentioned it a million times. But now I'm making the connection, right? USA is not going to be getting advertising dollars from their premiere show for 2 weeks because I assume that they're doing some sort of Olympic coverage, right? So they squeezed all the ads in because Sci-Fi is going to get the money for the next 2 weeks. That's why they ruined.
Okay, well, your move, really Sci-Fi. Because we know damn well you don't have as many ad packages as USA Network. So your move.
At all. But Haven was a good show on Sci-Fi back in the day, but that's another story.
But you know what? But to your point, though, Katie, this show was a banger front to back. If you delete the mistakes that they were making with the cutaways and the timing of the cutaways, et cetera, this is SmackDown. Take notes, SmackDown, because for as great SmackDown this past Friday, it opened up with a banger between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. You had a fantastic promo cut between Bayley and Nia Jax, wherein Bayley basically left her speechless, made her walk away from the promo. You had Bayley go feral on both Nia Jax and on the Money in the Briefcase. Further, that storyline shows some more dark side of the babyface version of Bayley. And it went from there. And then, of course, they completely dropped the ball by giving us a sitcom level rerun of the Bloodline putting Cody Rhodes or one of Cody Rhodes' associates through the table, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? Do something different. Now you have Monday Night Raw, which blew SmackDown out of the water last week, will probably blow them out of the water this week, barring a curveball that finally gets thrown by SmackDown. But you talk about Zelina Vega, and she goes in with the one arm, and you think to yourself, okay, well, maybe they're just trying to use this to kind of get Zoe over a little bit more. No, Zelina walks away with the win. Talk about the promo between Rhea, Dom, and Liv. Fantastic. We already talked about how sensational the opening promo was. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins. Holy shit. What a promo.
Yeah.
Two blockbuster pieces of news get dropped. CM Punk now medically cleared. The other one being Seth Rollins is confirmed now. He's going to be the special guest referee. And of course, Drew McIntyre is officially no longer suspended. And I over the past couple of weeks, and I put this in articles as well, fellas, I was under the impression, following the breadcrumbs, that Drew McIntyre's supposed suspension was going to last as long as CM Punk was not medically cleared. So that was going to be the WWE's out in the event CM Punk was not cleared. And then they would have tried to work it as Seth Rollins, maybe Drew McIntyre for SummerSlam. But thankfully, that's not going to be the case. Now we have our, de facto triple threat, because I think Seth's going to get involved physically.
Absolutely.
And we'll go from there. But if you assess, even Ilya Dragunov, Braun Breaker, absolute banger, right?
Hey,
the tag team match at the end, banger.
I know. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
Is Dragunov okay? Because bro, when he took that spear, I was like, I looked at my kid and I was like, I don't know if that was fake. Like, I don't know if that not fake isn't the right word. I don't know if that was,
if that was a sell, or if he
got racked on the back of his head, man. Like, dude, like. I wasn't shocked. Like when he hit, I said, "That's it. The match is over." And sure enough, the ref jumped out of the ring and she was like, waved it off and everything. If that was part of the script, if for him to hit his head like that was part of the script, kudos to them, because that was the realest injury that I've seen, man. That thing.
I don't know. I'll say this, and I'll throw it to Josh. Dragunov is one of the best sellers that I've seen in wrestling in a very long time. I saw one of the A&W followers, and they framed it the correct way. They were saying, we're not saying that he's Shawn Michaels, but he's one of the best sellers since Shawn Michaels. And that's absolutely, I agree. I sat back for a second, and first I was offended because massive HBK fan. And of course, you're going to say this the day after HBK's birthday. Hold on a second. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute, they're right. Okay, I can buy that. So because he sells so well, you're left to wonder if he's actually hurt or not. But what he suffered, let's just say I hope he's all right. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if news came out like in the next couple of days that he's absolutely not okay.
In Mother Russia, his injury is still. You know what I mean? Like he's absolutely going for it. I think he had an amazing match. The fact that match kicked off Raw, basically on the wrestling side of things, perfection. Yeah. Braun Breaker all day, every day. Stock is up on Braun Breaker, of course. Like they're finally doing him the right way, booking him the right way. I still think that Money in the Bank loss was detriment to
Josh. He'll get the belt at SummerSlam, which was my plan. You just got to trust my process, Josh. You trust
no, man, process. Because Sammy's so over that I don't think they're gonna let him lose that title just yet.
Well, if that was the case,
we'll have our predictions next week. We'll have our predictions next week, and you guys.
Because if that's the case, then you didn't do him. If that's the case, then you did Braun. Now, then I would agree with you in that they're doing Braun Breaker a huge disservice, because no freaking way you have him booked for 2 consecutive PLE title matches and him lose in 2 consecutive PLE title matches based on his trajectory going into the first one. So if he did, we'll get the predictions on the next show. I could see them
fumbling the bag on Braun Breaker, and I think that would be
we'll touch base on that, because I got some shit to say about that.
So let me pivot this really quick then before we tie the show, because again, we're doing this directly after Monday Night Raw. So make sure you follow us throughout the week for all of our shorts, all of our other videos that we're going to be bringing to you to talk about this week's action on YouTube and New Wrestling, on TikTok, on Twitter and New Wrestling, on Instagram and New Wrestling Pod. Of course, subscribe to Spotify, Apple, all of the places that you want to find our podcast on. We will be there for you. But let's talk about, as we go to SummerSlam, and SummerSlam, obviously the PLEs are top-notch only, right? Top-notch storylines, top-notch wrestlers. We don't have time for fillers. Like, hopefully we don't have time for fillers. But we know who the star power is going to be in these matches, right? Talk to me about somebody that you guys want to see get a push, and they're not going to be involved in SummerSlam, but you think that they deserve more airtime than what they're getting. For me, my guy is Otis. Like every time Otis is on the screen, like I'm rooting for Otis. And the fans in the arena, like especially in Green Bay where they filmed Raw and he's from Wisconsin, like he was over. The pop was incredible for Otis. They were chanting, like good action was going on in the ring, and they were like, fuck it. We want Otis. We want Otis. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was, to me, a huge draw. And I think he got kind of buried in the whole Chad Gable thing where he wasn't getting, you know, he was playing the shy, timid guy. I would just love for them to give him another arc where he's just an altogether badass. The man did the fucking worm in the ring today, y'all. Like, give Otis some more time. That's just my opinion.
I want to kick us off really quick because he's getting pushed now, and I'm kind of bastardizing the question a little bit, but I think it would be a huge detriment if they don't give the belt to Gunther. And I don't want to get into predictions or anything like that, of course, my bad, but they're pushing him the right way. As far as getting involved in SummerSlam, there's so much that they could do. If they do the right thing, it's Gunther's the guy, man. He's the one I'm pulling for the hardest right now. Pause. And
is that a pause moment?
That's a big pause moment.
Shouts out to Will.
Shouts out to Steel.
But man, I really am pulling for him. And Lyra Valkyria is like my one wrestler right now currently that I think really has something going on. Like I think she has the skill set, she has the move set, she has the in-ring ability. I don't know that they're doing much with her storyline. I don't understand her her relationship. Basically, who are the other two wrestlers that she's with at the moment right now, Patrick?
The ones who ran out to help her. That was that
Katie Gates,
Katana?
That's not right.
That Katana and
Chance.
Yeah. I think it was Katana and it was them. Yeah.
I think she needs to be on her own, man. I don't need her in this group. Like I think she can shine entirely on her own. Lyra Valkyria is kind of like my next, like, all right, let's see where she goes with this, because I want to see her in that title mix.
For me, I think, and when I said the name, it's not going to come a surprise to you guys or anyone that listens to the podcast, which should be everybody, or anyone that follows me on Twitter. It's Zelina Vega. It is Zelina Vega. And I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to pound this drum until I see some improvement from the creative team at WWE as far as the direction for my Boricua. Her in-ring ability is absolutely not in question. She's one of the best mics of either locker room across any of the three WWE brands. And hell, you could throw in A&W, TNA, NWA. Bottom line, she's one of the best mics in the industry. And when you have someone who is a sensational talent on the mic, who is very, very good in the ring and has the look, what's the holdup? Why? I feel like for as great as, and I understand why they did it initially as far as putting her in the LWO, you put her with a Hall of Famer and Rey Mysterio, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. But I think that she's outgrown that mentorship from Rey Mysterio. I think it's past time for Zelina Vega to get a solo push in the women's division, because I think that not only does she deserve it, I think it would be very fun to see her go. You see her challenging Liv Morgan, and she can hang with Liv Morgan in the ring, obviously, and she can hang with Liv Morgan on the mic, and she can hang with Liv Morgan on social media, and that's the current women's world champion, right? So when you get those types of examples from Zelina Vega, you are hard-pressed to convince me that there's a reason why she hasn't been getting a solo push. It's time for her to come from under Ray's wing and actually do some damage in the women's division. And I know she's ready. I know she wants to. You can hear it in her voice,
right?
When she's talking.
The passion that she has for getting that opportunity in real life comes through in her.
Absolutely, it does. Right? Absolutely, it does. And you can feel it, and you can tell that there's a certain amount of kayfabe to it, but at the same time, you can feel the actual soul coming from her and saying, "I want to do this the right way. I want to win the right way. And I want to win." But And to that point, I was pleasantly surprised for them to give her that win over Zoe tonight. It made me feel great that maybe, just maybe, after SummerSlam, she might begin getting the solo push, because she's starting to get over, and she would have been over by now if they would have disconnected her from the LWO, which technically the LWO right now is just Rey Mysterio and people. And the problem is Zelina Vega is better than just being people and company, right? Rey Mysterio and company. Like, no, she's better than that.
That getting that win tonight, I think you're right, man. It's solidifying the trajectory of her career going forward, and the mic time that she's gotten to over the past few weeks. Like she's getting that push slowly but surely. She's getting that push. I don't have any doubt about it.
One of the things that you brought up, Josh, was that you want to see Gunther get
depends on your accent.
Right, exactly, right.
Ring General, Ring General.
Right, exactly. Like, I can't tell, is he German? Is he Spanish? Like, what exactly is the character here?
Is he saying his name? Is Ludwig saying it? Just depends.
One of the things that I noticed, and of course, it's fun being new to wrestling. I've never seen him actually wrestle. I've never seen Rhea Ripley actually wrestle. So I'm going to get to see these people that y'all keep telling me are phenomenal in the ring for the first time at SummerSlam, right? So that's really what I'm looking forward to. Just as I'm discovering more and more about these people, I'm doing all my research. I'm doing all of my, Googling and figuring out, past battles and watching old matches and all that kind of stuff. But I've never seen either one of them actually battle in the ring. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Let me flip the script on that. And before we get to SummerSlam, tell me what your bold prediction is for this week leading up to SummerSlam week. What is the one thing that you think is going to happen? Now that we're through Raw, we have NXT coming up, we have SmackDown, and then we have another week of things happening with both of the brands. What do you think? What is your bold prediction for what's going to happen before we get to SummerSlam? That's just completely off the map right now.
I was really surprised that Ilya Dragunov didn't somehow get involved in the Intercontinental title match. I really was thinking that it was going to end in a disqualification. This match, I really expected a triple threat match for the IC belt, and I think that would have been like one of those like iconic title matches at SummerSlam. I think that could have had the chance to steal the show, and I'm kind of holding out hope, like, because you end with Ilya Dragunov getting that concussion, quote unquote, we'll see if that actually happens. But part of me feels like he doesn't go out like that, and he gets involved in that triple threat match somehow. That was my bold prediction kind of going into tonight.
Okay. What about you, Pat?
SmackDown is pissing me off. The reason SmackDown is pissing me off is because my predictions are going to lean heavily towards SmackDown, because that's where the Cody Rhodes versus Bloodline feud is housed, and that's going to be the main event for SummerSlam. And I say that to say, where the hell is Jimmy Uso? When are they going to reinsert him into the storyline? He was cleared now going on 3 weeks. By the time SummerSlam comes around, it'll be a month, more or less, since he's been medically cleared to return. When is he coming back? We're getting all this speculation on Roman Reigns. Is he coming back before SummerSlam? Is he going to, come back at SummerSlam? It's just so much. And then you wonder, and then you start hearing, okay, will they sign a potential new Bloodline member and all of these things? It's like, okay, if I have to go through another SmackDown with it ending with somebody being put through a table and Solo Sikoa and the Tongans and Jacob Fatu standing there in front of the camera frame, putting the fingers up, and then it goes to black, I'm going to start throwing fucking furniture. Give me something more. So I'm going to try this shit again, WWE. Okay. Jimmy Uso, and I was going to say Jay, but Jay got work tonight. And, now it seems like Jay, Sammy, okay. So I feel like it's less likely that it's Jay that appears on SmackDown. But you know what? Screw it. Let's make it fun, okay? Jay appears on SmackDown because Kevin Owens is down for the count. Randy Orton may be down for the count. Cody Rhodes is now on that island that the WWE is setting him up to be on. Let's say Jay appears to kind of help him out. And because Jay appears where there's Jay, there's Jimmy, especially being that Jay would be back on Jimmy's show because Jay's show is Raw, Jimmy's show is SmackDown. Okay. So Jay appears, then that draws Jimmy out, and Jimmy has to make the decision: is he willing to help Cody and his twin brother, or is he willing to help this new look Bloodline? Considering Jimmy was also disrespected a time or two by Roman Reigns, but then you could argue that he was also disrespected plenty of times by Solo Sikoa, that Solo wouldn't even give him high fives or fist bumps or anything. So Jay comes to SmackDown on Friday. Of course, this is just me wishful thinking. It's 100%. Jay comes to SmackDown, draws out Jimmy, and shit finally gets interesting because right now it is as stale as 4-week-old bread with that Bloodline storyline right now.
All right, I'm going to hold. Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, when are we going to get that Roman Reigns heel turn? When is he going to go after Cody?
Well, first he got
Randy Orton.
Oh, when Randy Orton's, well, it's not going to happen right now, anytime soon. Man. I don't think it could even happen
too much.
But I don't think it could. Yeah, they're definitely laying the Easter eggs, but I don't think it happens in 2024.
Really?
I don't think it happens. Think about the PLEs, right? Think about the PLEs. Let's say Roman. I actually, regardless of if Roman does or does not come back at SummerSlam, Roman is going to. They have to set up the Civil War. They have to set up the first match in the Civil War. So that's not going to be at SummerSlam as far as first official match. That means the first official match will probably be Survivor Series, right? So then from Survivor Series, the next major one is Royal Rumble. That's not until January, right? So realistically, maybe it happens at Royal Rumble, but then that depends on what happens at Survivor Series, which depends on what happens at SummerSlam. I don't think it happens anytime soon. And we both know, Josh, that Triple H loves playing the long game. This literally could be Easter eggs being dropped and breadcrumbs being dropped for like a 2026 heel turn from Randy Orton against Cody Rhodes, or late 2025. I just don't feel like it's anything soon.
It doesn't need to happen soon, but I'm kind of like on eggshells waiting for it to happen. I'm ready.
It's going to be fun when it does, because the Legend Killer. He's still the Legend Killer, and he still has voices in his head.
And he needs to be around for John Cena when he comes back. I need to see Randy Orton, John Cena one more time.
I need to see Randy Orton. I need to see Randy Orton get his 15th, or somebody's. I need answers. I need answers, because he should have had some sort of gold by now following his return from that neck surgery. The fact that not even the United States Championship, like, he has held no title since he's come back. Unacceptable.
And how long has he been back?
Future Hall of Famer. When did he come back? Last summer? No, not even.
It wasn't. It was an Elimination Chamber.
Yes, Elimination Chamber. So not even a full year. So, and the fact that it was a career-threatening injury, future Hall of Famer, the Legend Killer. I mean, again, when he came back, initially it was not a question of if he would win another title. It was when. And you thought it would have been by now. They set him up for, the challenge for, first of all, they inserted him right into the Bloodline. He wanted revenge on Roman Reigns. Okay. So then they kind of pulled that back a little bit because they needed to build up differently for WrestleMania. And we know how that all went, looking in hindsight. It went well, spectacular. But then it's like, okay, aim him at the US Championship. Nope, can't get that. So then it's like, where are you aiming him on? But you kept him on SmackDown, but the Intercontinental Championship is on Raw.
He was in the finals for King of the Ring.
He almost had gold at Elimination Chamber. And that was a fantastic match. Logan Paul ruined it.
Yeah.
So then that aimed him at Logan Paul at the United States Championship as a singles match, but then even that didn't pan out. So then they pick him up and they put him in something else, and then they pick him up and they put him in something else. And now they've picked him up and they've put him in something else, which is Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. But then you put him through a table.
You can't even put Kevin Owens in that conversation, man, because he is just a punching bag for the Bloodline.
Yesterday, he came back from dealing with. No, but listen, Kevin Owens came back from helping his sick mother,
right?
Okay, in real life, and this is what you brought him back to. The pop was crazy, but then so was the pop, which is the sound of the table they put him to. That was crazy too. Exactly. So it's like, come on, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? This Bloodline is in no way, shape, or fashion should this be as anywhere near as OP as the original one was. So stop trying to sell it. I'm not buying it. It's T-Move.
I'm gonna hold off on my bold prediction until next week when we start to do the predictions for SummerSlam. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode. Obviously, if you are watching this, if you're listening to this, smash that subscribe button, hit the notifications to make sure that you do not miss any of the and new wrestling action that we are bringing you. We're having the time of our lives talking to you guys on Twitter, so please keep those replies coming. Make sure that you're tuning in every week. Look for the shorts. Do everything you can to put yourself in front of the monitor when the four horsemen are bringing you the insights of the wrestling world. That's it. We're out here for this week. Salute.